Welcome to our podcast session. Let's dive into an intriguing development in the crypto world: China's strategy to liquidate confiscated crypto through Hong Kong exchanges.
I'm excited, really excited about this. So tell me, what's the core idea behind this strategy?
Well, essentially, it's like a grand plan. China is not just cleaning up digital assets, it's using this process to inject liquidity into Hong Kong's markets in a very controlled manner.
Mm-hmm. Right, so it's not solely a regulatory exercise, but a deliberate move to manipulate market dynamics?
Exactly. Hong Kong launched its Leap Digital Assets Policy Statement 2.0, which on its surface is about unifying licensing and expanding tokenized products, but beneath that, there's a layered strategy.
Yeah, I see that. And what does that regulation framework involve?
It builds on several key pieces of legislation, starting with the amendment of the Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorist Financing Ordinance back in 2022. This brought virtual asset platforms under stringent licensing, aligning with international standards, and then comes the Stablecoin Ordinance, which will enforce robust risk controls.
It sounds like Hong Kong's aiming for a very strong regulatory environment, almost like setting the stage for a market revolution.
Absolutely. And it's like they're saying, we get it. Liquidity is the lifeblood of a market. In a sense, by injecting liquidity from confiscated assets, Hong Kong will be able to modulate supply and demand directly.
Right, very interesting. But doesn't that also mean that Hong Kong could, essentially control the pricing dynamics globally?
Yes, exactly. It transforms Hong Kong not just into a regional crypto hub, but a global price influencer. The ability to turn seized assets into real liquidity is a strategic weapon.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that while the US relies on a kind of hold-only reserve strategy, Hong Kong, under this framework, will actively influence market conditions?
Precisely. The US's approach is static, holding vast reserves without interfering. What Hong Kong is doing, and by extension China, has a dynamic edge. They can respond rapidly to market shifts and geopolitical pressures by controlling liquidity flows.
I do wonder, though, is it really that effective? I mean, doesn't this kind of strategy also run the risk of market manipulation accusations?
That's a valid point. However, what makes it fascinating is that while such a setup might be critiqued from a regulatory or ethical viewpoint, it's clearly a calculated move to strengthen geopolitical leverage, as if think of it like having the master key to all the doors in the crypto market.
Right, that imagery works. And how does this compare with what other regions are doing? I mean, places like Singapore or Dubai also have advanced frameworks, don't they?
Yes, they do, but there are notable differences. Singapore, despite its mature regulatory environment, and Dubai, with its high operational costs and fragmented remits, simply don't offer the same scale or direct access to massive crypto holdings that Hong Kong does.
Mm-hmm. So, in essence, Hong Kong holds a unique position with both regulatory maturation and market access, enabling China to orchestrate the liquidity moves from its own confiscated reserves.
Exactly, and this move effectively turns Hong Kong into a sort of crypto hedge for China, a command post where they can influence digital asset prices globally.
And don't forget the comparison to traditional markets, like how rare earth metals once gave China a massive advantage in trade negotiations.
Right, it's a similar principle. Just as control over rare earth minerals translated into geopolitical leverage, control over crypto liquidity means steering market narratives and outcomes as well.
Mm-hmm. Smart analogy. Now, one point critics might raise is that such a concentrated control could lead to significant market volatility. Do you think that risk is adequately managed by the regulatory framework?
Well, that's where Hong Kong's comprehensive approach comes in. Regulations like the Stablecoin Ordinance and the LEAP policy aren't just about compliance. They're about setting robust risk controls to avoid excessive volatility. It's like providing the guardrails while still allowing strategic flexibility.
Sense. And the whole strategy seems to be a fine blend of legal, regulatory, and market tactics. A true strategic convergence aimed at dominating the digital asset space.
Yes, and the liquidity injection itself is the cornerstone of that convergence. It provides Hong Kong with the power to serve as the market price vehicle that can effectively modulate supply and demand.
Mm-hmm. Interesting indeed. So, if I understand correctly, while regulations are grabbing headlines, the real chess move here is how China is planning to leverage crypto liquidity on a global scale.
Exactly. It's a subtle yet profound shift in the balance of power. Institutions, risk practitioners, and policymakers need to keep a close eye on how these liquidity flows are managed, because they will directly impact everything from market stability to geopolitical negotiations.
It almost seems like a double-edged sword. On one side, you have innovation and market dynamism, and on the other, the potential for strategic manipulation that could unsettle global markets.
True, and that's where the challenge lies. Regulatory frameworks must evolve to address these complexities as much as they have to enforce compliance.
No doubt. And it really raises the question for the US and others. Should they remain with a passive hold-only approach or recalibrate their strategies to counterbalance this kind of market influence?
Precisely. The US has to ask itself whether continuing with its limited market influence is sustainable in a landscape where liquidity is the ultimate lever.
Right, that's a major strategic dilemma. Overall, it's a fascinating interplay of policy, market forces, and geopolitical strategy. It shows not just the evolution of digital asset regulation, but how it's being woven into larger power games on the global stage.
Absolutely. And remember, while Hong Kong's LEAP policy grabs the headlines, it's the liquidity injection and the strategic use of confiscated crypto that underline the real visionary shift in the landscape.
Agreed. In the end, whether you see it as market innovation or a geopolitical maneuver, it's clear that liquidity is being turned into a weapon, and Hong Kong might just be holding the switch.
Well said. It's like they're not merely adapting to the digital asset future, they're actively shaping it in ways that could redefine global market power structures.
Yeah, really reshaping the field. Thanks for this deep dive. It's been a compelling exploration into how strategic policy decisions can have far-reaching effects in the digital era.
Absolutely. Always a rich conversation when you see the intersection of regulation, liquidity, and global strategy.
Looking forward to what happens next in this evolving space.
Same here. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and keep an eye on how these grand strategies continue to unfold in the crypto realm.